Recording.
All right, since we have so many new members, what I thought I'd do is if everybody wouldn't mind introducing themselves so we all know one another. And I'll start. Kim?
Yes.
I'll start with you.
Okay. It's only fair. I'm Kim Sweezy. I'm with the Better Business Bureau, Central and Eastern Kentucky.
I'm Laura Day Delcato. I'm an attorney here in town, and I'm representing Professional Women's Forum.
I'm Denotria Sproul-Gunther. I'm also an attorney here in town, and I am representing the John Rowe chapter of the NBA.
I'm Matt Ellison with the law firm of Fowler Bell, representing Commerce Lexington.
Shayla Lynch. My day job is I'm the assistant director of the Lexington Fair Housing Council, but today I'm on this commission representing the League of Women Voters.
And my name is Kerry Howard. I'm an attorney here in town, Kincaid and Stills, and I'm representing Fayette County Bar.
AJ Singleton, General Counsel with Stahl, Keenan, and Ogden, and I'm here on behalf of Citizens for Ethical Government.
I'm Evan Buckley. I'm an attorney here in town with Goss Sanford, and I am an at-large member of the commission.
Allison Connolly, also at-large.
Glenda George. I am an attorney for the Urban County Government.
Evan Thompson. I'm an attorney for the Urban County Government.
Abby Allen. I'm council clerk.
Steve Crock. I'm deputy council clerk.
All right. Thank you very much. Have you all had the opportunity to review the minutes of the November 1st meeting? And if so, is there a motion that those meetings be approved?
So moved.
Any second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Ethics tip line reports. Glenda?
Just for information only, there weren't any that we had to look into for possible ethics violations.
There's one that's been pending, it looks like 6 months. Is that this inappropriate behavior, calendar year, calendar number 6? Is that,
I don't know what that is.
but it's been pending 6 months?
It looks like it does.
Can we try to see if,
Is that saying that there were, I think that might be saying there were 6 during the whole year.
there,
Not
oh,
that-
so it's
yeah.
not, okay, all right.
I see now.
Yes, there
All
was
right.
none in December, and of that, there was 6
In
inappropriate behavior
2018.
Yes.
I see. Do we have, so,
There's that one, though, that's been open for 59 days.
okay.
Falsification or destruction of information.
And-
Human Resources is investigating that one because it doesn't relate to ethics. We don't have any information about that one.
Okay. All right. Financial interest statements update. Is that Stephen or Evan?
Yeah, we sent out 4 orders to appear, and since that time we've gotten 3 financial interest statements. So the only one that's still outstanding is Deborah Bright.
And did Ms. Bright receive it? Do we know?
As far as I know, I haven't gotten the
Green-
confirmation card back,
Okay.
but as far as we know,
What board was she on?
she's a
Planning, right?
retired purchasing.
Yeah.
Oh,
She was a buyer or something.
Yeah.
But I think she retired.
but we had an address. If the green card comes back signed, put it back on the for the next meeting.
Okay.
And
Should I
As
send should I send a new order to appear then?
yeah, if it comes back signed, then we will. AO advisory request from J. Poe, AO 2019-1. Is there a request that it be confidential or?
It's not indicated.
Not
It was
indicated.
not marked. Yeah, it wasn't checked on the.
Either way.
Is Mr. Poe here?
My name's Mr. Bradley, Griffin Bradley. Jeff Poe's my partner in this business.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Did you want this to be treated confidentially, Mr. Bradley, or?
No.
All right, great. Come take a seat. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
We have your request for an opinion, and I'll let you give a brief statement if you will, and then if there are any questions, we'll try and resolve this.
Sounds great. So like I said, my name's Griffin Bradley. I'm a code enforcement officer here at LFUCG. Myself and Mr. Jeff Poe are planning on going into business together. This is a general contracting business. Jeff is also a code enforcement officer. Our business is Kentucky Building Solutions, LLC. We plan to be a general contractor here in Lexington, and we're looking for the opinion of this board to make sure that we're doing everything that we should be to stay ethical while continuing to hold our jobs here at the city. So a brief overview of what we will be doing would be new home construction, remodels, basement fit-ups, and like new additions, things in that manner. We have no intentions of doing any work on any rental property in the Fayette County area, or for anyone who owns rental property. We actually plan on having a sworn statement for our contract whenever we sign a contract with everybody that says that that you do not own any rental property and that this house is not under notice with code enforcement. And if that was to be the case, we would terminate immediately.
Okay, Mr. Bradley, I know you obviously put that in there because of ethical concerns. Sure. Why would it be limited to rental property as opposed to any, I would say, any residential property within the city limits? Kind of why rental as opposed to any other property?
Why are we not?
Yes. Why make it? Why shut out rental as opposed to other kinds of residential property types?
Probably because the sole fact of my job, like what we do, we deal with rental property every day and with landlords, and it could be very unethical if we were to do business with such.
And that leads to my second question. My vague understanding of code enforcement process is that it's very much sort of complaint-driven or tip-driven.
Sure.
Can you describe just to the entire commission sort of what your daily responsibilities are in your job?
Sure. So, like you said, it is completely complaint-driven. We do have the option to do self-initiatives on cases, but currently we're under order by our director not to do such. So daily I'd come in and get complaints from my particular area. My area is between Nicholasville Road and Tate's Creek. It's my sliver of the city. And I would go out and address these complaints, whether it be by neighbors or tenants of rental property. And if I find violations, I put them under notice and hopefully try to address the code issues and get them taken care of.
Are there other people that do home ownership calls? Or, I mean, I'm just wondering why you just do rental properties?
No. We do any residential property in Fayette County. Yeah.
Yeah. Which leads me back to the question. You're just excluding rental properties because I know that's probably 90% of the enforcement issues that you have.
Yes.
But it's not exclusive. It's not exclusive to what you're doing.
No.
So what about? Would it be better if you refused to do anything within your area, your service area?
Sure. I mean that's definitely an option. I mean, really, what we run into, in my eyes, say I have a person that wants me to do work on their home. If they've never had any run-ins with code enforcement, and that's also in our sworn statement that if they do get placed under notice while we are under construction. I mean, that's kind of why I'm here to get an opinion on that too, is how it would be best to handle that. But as long as they're not under notice with code enforcement, I don't really see that there would be an ethical issue with it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, suppose your work results in a code enforcement violation.
Sure. Okay, so I see what you're saying. So that's part of the contract that we're having signed with them, is that we haven't totally decided. I was hoping I could get some, advisement from the committee tonight of what would be the best route to handle that, but it's
But
still.
if it weren't that situation, that wouldn't be cited by your division. That would be building inspection,
True.
though, correct?
Very
true.
It could be a different division.
Yes. So in general, we handle anything that's a year old. I mean, sometimes we do have newer construction stuff, but that's generally the policy. Yeah.
So if I get clarification, you say on your statement that you are not going to work on any existing rental properties in the Lexington-Fayette County area. So you're not going to do any rental. It's for your business purposes.
business,
you're not
yeah.
going to do any rental within the city limits ever.
No.
With your business.
With the business, yeah, we will never be working on any rental property, period.
Not just rental properties, but rental properties in Lexington.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
In the county.
Yeah, in the county. Yeah, nothing in the county.
Okay.
Yes, and on no homes that are under notice. Yes, in the county.
So then your business is just going to be out of county.
Right. That's what
Well,
you're essentially saying,
no, not
right?
at all.
No, because any homes that aren't under notice or aren't rental property,
Gotcha.
say you're,
Gotcha.
So home
that like
occupied.
yes, that's not under notice by code
Okay.
enforcement,
Gotcha.
and yes,
That's
yeah.
going to be your main source of
Yes.
business. Okay.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
you heard a number of us are attorneys here. Were any of the names of our law firms familiar to you? When
I didn't necessarily hear the names of the firms. I apologize.
not a problem. Related question. You said you got a form contract. Have you submitted that as part of any type of?
No, I had not. I do have a copy of our draft for the, like we call it a code enforcement disclosure statement.
Mhm.
I gladly let you all look at it if you'd like. It just kind of says, pretty much what I said, that we won't be working on any rental property. So, when we go into contract, they're going to have to sign stating that this is not rental property. They are not under notice by code enforcement, and that if they do become under notice for whatever reason, that they would immediately tell us, being Kentucky Building Solutions LLC.
What would happen if you're in the middle of a job?
We'd be concerned they might have a claim against you or
Yeah.
something if you had to drop off a job because they got a notice. So that would just be more for your business and a concern.
Yeah.
But if you, let's say you were going to do some work on a house, you would be able to tell whether or not it's in a condition to where it could possibly be cited by code enforcement. And so you would know on the front end,
Yeah, if it,
not, right.
yes.
So it's not like you would be working on a house and something might pop up while you're working. You
Yeah.
would already be able, because it takes a lot to get to a situation where you're having a code violation. It would be readily apparent
Yes.
if someone were contacting you, and more than likely, based on what you all do, anybody who is having code violations probably isn't getting their house remodeled or having a room addition.
And something to add to that too. So, like you said, generally we're looking for upper class. I mean, not really what we generally deal with code enforcement. And also, it's code enforcement's policy that if a house is construction work's being done on a home, and they have a permit with building inspection, that building inspection handles those issues, because they know that when the contractor is done with the project and building inspection signs off, the home is going to be in good shape. So it also eliminates a lot of the
What do
possibilities.
your supervisors feel about this?
I've spoke with my supervisors and my director. They all approve as long as we stay within our guidelines that we've set out.
Would you be willing to, say, file with your supervisor or director or whoever, whatever the hierarchy is, a list of any properties that you work on during the time you're employed with the LFUCG?
Yes, that would be no issue at all.
Would you be willing to file written practices also of your company with your supervisors?
Sure.
Any other questions? Thank you, any questions? Thank you, Mr. Bradley. If you don't mind, I think what we'll do is there a motion that we go in closed session to discuss this? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? If you just wait right out there.
Thank you all.
Session?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We're back in open session.
We are recording.
We have one question for you. We've kind of resolved a lot of in our mind and can give you some kind of oral advice tonight with a written letter to follow that will set out exactly kind of what we mean with citation to the ethics code. Do you have a duty to report a code violation? If you were in a house, you were looking to add on a porch or something, a new room. You go down to the basement and you find that the electricity panel is out of compliance. It's fuses or something, knob and tube.
Sure.
Do you have a duty to report that to code enforcement as a...
Sure,
You do.
I do, and I think the way we would have to handle that is that for us to do work on a home, we would have to fully go through it and make sure that there are no safety and code violations, and that if there are, then we would have to say, I apologize, but we can't do work for you.
Could you, thank you for your candor. Could you say, if you get this fixed, then we'll do the work? If you bring it up to code, or?
It's a tricky situation.
It almost has to be unrelated to the work that you were trying to get hired to complete, I guess.
Yes, but, I mean, by all means, we would much rather stay on the safest side of the ethical side when doing this, because like I said before, we want to keep our jobs, but we also want to do what we love, which is construction work, and by all means, we would do anything to make sure that we stay ethical and always are ethical.
Well, and please correct me if I'm wrong, this is kind of the consensus that we've come to, is that we feel that you can do that work that you love with your partner. If you follow with your director any properties that you're working on during the time you're working, and a copy of your written practices. First thing, that you can't advertise that you're LFUCG code enforcement. You can't wear the hat or the shirt when you go talk to someone. What was the other thing?
Be very careful about the use of public time, funds, personnel, or equipment. I mean, obviously the big thing is going to be time. This would apply even, to your work as a code enforcement. When you're on the clock, it would not it would not be an ethical act for you to be handling calls relating to contracting business, and sometimes the lines are hard to draw, but that's on breaks or something where you're not on city time, that would, I think, be acceptable. But
that's going to be hard to. That's a big temptation, answering a cell phone.
Sure.
And then lastly, if you're working on a piece of property and the house is cited for a violation that you didn't see, no one could really see, you'd have to stop work, let the violation be fixed, but we think you could go back and finish the job, and it would be something that you could integrate into your contract. Is that, everybody agree?
Yes.
Is that? So that's kind of our advice to you, given that if you find, we're very pleased that if you feel you have a duty to report and you won't do that work, then bravo to you.
And always feel free to come back if something should come up.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're here for that purpose. So.
Good deal. Thank you all so
Thank
much.
you, Mr. Bradley.
Thank you.
You'll get a letter from us as well.
Perfect. Y'all have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.
And you get that? You got all that? Okay. All right, we now have AO 2019-2. It is not marked confidential either.
He did waive confidentiality.
He did?
All right.
I have a problem with this one. I don't know if he's here or not. I mean, this to me just looks like an actual conflict.
What does the Lexington Industrial Authority Board do exactly, if we have any idea?
Glenda is going to...
We brought you all a copy of the ordinance. It's fairly new. It was just created last year. They were created, we did the swap with the University of Kentucky, and we gave them a bunch of streets and they gave us Holt Street. And so this Industrial Development Authority is assigned the task of developing that property and getting businesses in to build on that property.
For the purpose of aiding in the acquisition, retention, development of land for industrial and commercial purposes in Fayette County.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah. I just don't see, I see it as an actual conflict. I
The
mean,
second
there's
paragraph kind of like does it.
Yeah, he's in a realty
Yeah.
company. He says it's highly likely, very likely that someone from his company will represent a buyer. Here
Or
he's got
seller at some point.
kind of inside information. He's going to know the competition. I think it puts him at an unfair advantage, and the company.
And it sounds like if he had somebody and he knew they wanted so much property, then he could go to the board and say like, oh, I think we should subdivide the property with this.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
you know,
Right.
it's-
So, you know, I want to discuss it more, but I think in kind of my opinion, the block and lot can agree not to bring any clients before the council. They can just cut themselves out of that particular business, or he has to get off the board.
Well, he's also talking about his company could submit an offer. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's not like he's employed by, like this guy was employed and he's doing a side business. This is just some board he wants to be on.
I think he's already on the board.
But most recently, right?
Yeah.
He was
Yeah, he
already
just
working
got
for the
appointed.
company.
They're very early.
Mhm.
They just had their first meeting maybe 3 weeks ago. And they didn't consider anything at that meeting.
And
Well, I
he's
think
on
it's
there
really-
because he's a very good marketer of,
Yeah.
and
I think it's a
seller
really
of
good
industrial
idea
property.
to have people with a lot of experience and knowledge on the board, but not for them to take a percentage of the work that the board's doing. I mean,
Right.
that's almost, to me,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
an absolute conflict. Even if he had just an interest in the business, I think it would be problematic.
Does the industrial authority meet or does it basically exist only for Coldstream, or is it for other parcels owned by the city?
We created it for Coldstream.
Okay, that's really, yes, very specific. I was trying to think whether something like, you know, a strong recusal might cure or raise the help, but it sounds like if that's the purpose that the board exists for, that's
Yeah, you know, just
difficult.
his participation on the board
And his knowledge.
and the knowledge
That he would gain.
I mean, I'm wondering whether he hasn't tainted block and lot, even if he resigned from the board, because he's accepted the appointment. Now he has
the information.
presumed to have knowledge of inside board activities. And,
Well, we don't know. They've only had one meeting.
yeah,
right.
probably.
Well, she said they didn't do anything
And they didn't
substantive.
do anything except approve the bylaws and adopt the Ethics Act. That's
Okay,
all they did. And
that's all they did.
And they went on a tour of the property.
Which is why he
He's going on a
probably.
tour.
And then he brought up,
I was thinking about buying developers.
I didn't try to go tour the coach. I mean, anybody could go out there.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
if he waited and then he just decided, well, I'll just drop off the board, and then 2 weeks later he's got a buyer with, or his firm has a new buyer coming in. I mean,
We can have a tour of the ethics jail.
Right.
I don't know. It sounds like we're pretty much in agreement that this is a big problem, that there's an actual conflict
is-
of interest.
we
It isn't
probably knew that too, because he
waivable,
didn't
it's
show
not
up.
recusable, and that he's got two choices. Either block and lot brings no clients before the council for voting, where he
You mean
markets.
before the board?
Before the board.
Or brings no clients to the table, I guess.
Right. Or else he
Which
gets
is
off the
gonna
board.
affect his business big time. He'll just sit off the
And if
board.
he's gonna get off the board, he better do it quickly
Right,
before they
before
start
the next
doing work. Matt?
I'm just trying to figure if there's anything short of those two options. I'm not saying I disagree, just
I mean, I was trying to think if you said he would have no financial, he wouldn't get paid anything, but I think he's an owner of the company, so I don't think that really fixes
I
it.
think
That
it is.
Unless
he's not involved.
block and
I mean,
lot like
right.
waive their commission on the sale. But
and it's
Then why do
it's certainly an appearance of impropriety
Mhm.
issue, big time.
That's,
Well, even waiving the commission, he'd still have insider information.
Mhm.
Yeah, Allison, I think I agree with you. I can't see a narrower path to take care of the
That's a
conflict.
restrictive alternative, right?
Are we in agreement about that? Either? Anybody disagree? So it's kind of a unanimous. All right. Then that's kind of what we'll do. Evan? Okay.
In fact,
Evan?
someone may want to reach out to him sooner.
Oh,
Certainly
well, I'll
before
email
the-
him tomorrow and let him know, that he didn't come and this is what we decided, and he'll be giving a formal written opinion from
He
the
probably
commission.
do that.
And he can
That's why
call me
did
if he
come.
likes.
Okay.
It's just what, 25.5, 25.6?
Or are you looking for specific
Yeah.
statutory?
Yeah. So I'm not just,
Well, I mean, if we're looking for,
Look at this. I'm like Ethics Commission binder.
I think 25.5.1 for first of all, because it's potentially in
I forgot to
conflict
put it in there.
with the proper discharge of the officer or employee's
Are you getting on
duties.
ethics outcomes?
He's got money on this.
Are you getting ready for your pool?
Here's the thing too, and I guess this is our first one. When a member of a special purpose governmental entity where the board adopted the Ethics Act has asked us for an opinion.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I'm assuming that we're going to say that going forward, we're gonna issue opinions for those entities when they ask.
That's right.
Okay.
This is based on legislation. These are one of these special purpose boards that we brought in based on Kentucky, recent Kentucky law. And by giving him an ethics opinion, we're saying that if someone comes to us from one of these special purpose boards, we'll provide them with an
And
opinion.
this is one that has adopted the Ethics Act, and now they're asking us for an opinion.
I think we absolutely do.
Okay.
We issue it until someone says we don't have the jurisdiction to.
Okay.
More power, the better.
Good? Go on? All right. Any other business? Is there a motion we adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Raymond said-
All in favor? We're adjourned.
So-